In this little video, I'll be going over a lecture 17 concept of comparing and contrasting hormonal and nervous system control of the glomerular filtration rate. And more specifically, I'll be talking about the hormonal effects. We gotta recall what GFR stands for, which is glomerular filtration rate, which is the volume of liquid that filters into Bowman's capsule per unit time. In order to find the rate, you multiply the net filtration pressure times the filtration coefficient. And the net filtration pressure is equal to the hydrostatic pressure minus the colloid osmotic pressure minus the hydrostatic pressure in Bowman's capsule. And as for the filtration coefficient, it means the ability for filtration to occur, which is kind of just directly related to filtration slits. Now we know and we're kind of refreshed on what that means, we can go specifically on what the hormones do. So the first method is regulating arterial resistance. And the target of these hormones is the vascular smooth muscle on efferent and afferent arterioles. And depending on which hormone, it has different effects. So angiotensin II is a vasoconstrictor hormone, and prostaglandins is a vasodilator hormone. So in the case that there's increased systemic blood pressure, you would want a vasoconstrictor hormone because those lead to a decrease in GFR. And which ones are vasoconstrictor hormones? That's correct, angiotensin II hormones. So now there's two scenarios for reduced blood pressure. If you have reduced blood pressure, you can also use another vasoconstrictor hormone on the efferent arterioles, and this leads to an increase in GFR because it decreases renal blood flow by increasing arterial resistance, which increases the pH. Once again, pH is the hydrostatic pressure, which then increases GFR. Now, if we had reduced blood pressure, we can also use vasodilation hormone, which is the prostaglandins, and the afferent arterioles, because that leads to decreased arteriole resistance in the afferent arterioles, which increases renal blood flow, therefore increasing the hydrostatic pressure, therefore increasing the GFR. And so these two hormones are called antagonistic hormones because they pretty much work against each other. One hormone constricts and the other hormone dilates. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory on that part. The second method is regulating filtration coefficient. These two hormones also have an effect on the filtration coefficient. So angiotensin II reduces the permeability of filtration slits. So if it's harder to permeate through these filtration slits, that means that the filtration coefficient will go down. And once again, if we recall, the GFR is the product of the filtration coefficient and the net filtration pressure. And that leads to a smaller GFR, because if you have a smaller filtration coefficient, then you have a smaller GFR. Now, prostaglandins, they increase the permeability of filtration slits. Now, if it's easier to pass through and it's easier to permeate, then that means you'll also have a bigger coefficient, which leads to a bigger GFR. Likewise, once again, just in case we forgot, the GFR is a product of both the filtration coefficient and the net filtration pressure. So if we increase permeability, we increase the coefficient, which therefore increases the GFR. All right, thank you.